let's unpack this. You're sitting in a boardroom, or maybe you're just looking at your own company's quarterly budget, right? And you see it.
Oh, yeah. That massive, unavoidable line item.
Exactly. A massive, eye-watering line item dedicated entirely to, AI implementation. Millions of dollars just being poured into the latest artificial intelligence tools.
Right.
And your competitors are doing it, the market is completely demanding it, and you feel this immense pressure to keep up. But here's the multi-million-dollar paradox we're dealing with today. Despite all that money and all that cutting-edge technology, a shocking number of these initiatives are just, well, they're failing to generate any meaningful business impact.
Yeah, it's wild. The needle just hasn't moved an inch.
Not an inch.
It is arguably the most expensive frustration in modern business right now. I mean, you invest in this incredibly powerful engine, and yet the car is somehow just idling in the driveway while everyone kind of stands around staring at it. J.D. Parashar over at Rethynk AI, he just wrote this brilliant piece in July 2026 about this exact thing. It's called How CEOs Can Lead AI Transformation Successfully. And he argues that we are completely misdiagnosing the problem, like totally missing the mark.
How so?
Well, we're treating a fundamental leadership crisis as if it were, just an IT glitch.
Which is such a massive shift in perspective, right? And whether you are prepping for a huge boardroom presentation tomorrow or you're just trying to get your small creative team to adopt a new workflow, this deep dive is going to give you the shortcut to understanding the actual bottleneck here.
Absolutely, because Parashar's core premise is that AI is no longer just an emerging technology.
Right. It's not an IT initiative anymore.
Exactly. It's a leadership challenge. And to understand how to actually lead an AI transformation, we first have to look at how organizations are just getting it so wrong right now.
The misdiagnosis.
Yeah. The expectation today is that AI is going to act like a magic wand. Organizations buy the enterprise software, they plug it into their network, and they just sit back and wait for the profit margins to skyrocket.
Well, it's going to do the work for them.
Right. But because the leadership is still operating with this legacy mindset, they treat AI like an isolated technology project. They delegate it entirely to the IT department.
They just throw it over the fence. Hey, tech team, we bought the licenses. Make us innovative.
Which never works.
No, it completely misunderstands the mechanism of how AI actually functions in a business. It makes me think of, well, it's like buying a state-of-the-art Formula One car, right?
Okay, I like this.
You buy this incredible, highly engineered F1 car, but instead of handing the keys to the driver, you give them exclusively to the mechanics.
Right.
And you just leave the car in the garage. If AI influences your business strategy, your org structure, your customer relationships, your competitive positioning, it belongs in the boardroom, not just in the IT basement.
That is a highly accurate way to look at it.
Yeah.
Because an AI model, it doesn't know what your company values are.
No.
It doesn't know your 3-year growth strategy.
Right.
Parashar points out that AI alters organizational structure. It redefines workforce capabilities entirely. You cannot just delegate those tectonic shifts to a siloed tech team.
You really can't.
The CEO has to become what he calls the architect of AI transformation. And that starts with how you handle your own people, which actually brings us to a major misconception about the workforce.
Oh, the common narrative, right. Everyone assumes employees are just terrified of AI. The robots are coming for their jobs, so they dig their heels in, they refuse to learn the new tools, and they actively sabotage the rollout.
Right, that's what we always hear.
Yeah.
But what's fascinating here is how Parashar completely dismantles that assumption.
Really?
Yeah. Think about human behavior for a second. People adapt to wildly complex new algorithms on their social media feeds or, their phones every single day without a second thought.
Oh, that's true.
They aren't inherently afraid of the technology itself. What employees actually resist is ambiguity.
Ambiguity. Okay, let's ground that. What does that actually look like in practice for, the person listening right now?
Sure. So imagine it's a Tuesday afternoon at a mid-sized logistics company. The CEO sends out a company-wide email that says, we are thrilled to announce we're integrating AI across our operations to drive efficiency.
Oh, boy. I've gotten that email.
Right. And that's it. No further details. Now, to the CEO, that email simply means we're going to be more profitable. But to a warehouse manager or a supply chain analyst reading that on a Tuesday, That email creates a massive void of information.
And human beings will always fill an information void with anxiety.
Invariably. The warehouse manager immediately wonders, does efficiency mean my team is getting cut? Does this change how I route the trucks? Am I going to be penalized if I don't know how to prompt the software?
Right, the panic sets in.
Exactly. The resistance isn't to the tool itself, it's to the total uncertainty surrounding the tool. The CEO's job, as the architect, is to remove that ambiguity by leading from the front.
That is such a vital distinction. It completely shifts the burden from the employee having to figure it out to the executive having to explain it.
Yes.
So if removing ambiguity is the ultimate goal here, how does a leader actually achieve that? Let's get into the mechanics of this, because Parashar has these 5 concrete principles, right?
He does. And the first 2 principles are really about shifting focus. First, AI must have a clear business purpose. You have to communicate why it matters and how success is measured. And second, a focus on outcomes over tech.
Outcomes over tech, meaning what exactly?
Meaning, instead of leadership getting seduced by the capabilities of the AI, catching shiny object syndrome.
Oh, right. Like, look at this model generate a marketing plan in 12 seconds. We have to buy it.
Exactly. And suddenly they're sitting in meetings debating which AI platform should we implement, or should we use vendor A or vendor B?
Asking the wrong question.
Totally the wrong questions. Parashar argues that a successful leader flips that entire conversation. The primary question should be, how will this reduce our customer churn rate? Or how will this increase our operational efficiency on the factory floor?
So the desired business outcome has to dictate the technology choice, never the other way around.
Precisely.
Okay, I am completely with you on setting the vision and focusing on outcomes. And his third principle is about building an AI-ready culture of fearless innovation, which makes sense based on what we just said about ambiguity.
Right.
But I want to push back on his fourth principle. He says leaders must invest in leadership AI literacy. Now, let's just be realistic about a modern CEO's schedule.
Okay.
They are managing supply chain crises, inflation, investor relations, HR disputes. Are we genuinely expecting busy, non-technical executives to suddenly learn Python or understand the math behind neural networks? Like, where's the line?
That is the exact trap a lot of executives fall into. They equate literacy with engineering. But Parashar provides a really crucial clarification here. Executives do not need to become AI engineers.
Okay, thank goodness.
Yeah, they don't need to know how to adjust the weights in a neural network or write a single line of code. What they need is strategic literacy.
Strategic literacy. But wait, if they don't know how the data is weighted or how the model is actually built, aren't they just blindly trusting the IT department anyway? Like, how do you strategically govern something you don't fundamentally understand?
Well, because you don't need to know how to build a commercial airplane to know it requires a flight plan, regular maintenance, and FAA clearance.
Oh,
Right?
that's a great point.
Strategic literacy just means understanding the capabilities and the limitations of the AI. For example, a CEO needs to know that a large language model basically just predicts the most statistically likely next word.
Right, it's just fancy autocomplete.
Exactly. And because they know that mechanism, they understand that the model is prone to hallucinations, which means they know, strategically, that they cannot deploy it for, say, automated legal compliance without human oversight.
Ah, I see.
Yeah.
So the literacy isn't about the code, it's about the application and the risk.
Precisely. If a CEO lacks that strategic literacy, they're entirely at the mercy of the hype cycle. They buy a massive enterprise solution, throw it at a problem it wasn't designed to solve, and just waste millions of dollars.
Which brings us to the fifth principle, right? Responsible AI.
Yes, strategic literacy is what allows a leader to implement responsible AI, focusing on transparency, security, and ethics.
Which is a huge topic right now, but let's look at the business mechanism of that. Why does a CEO prioritize ethical AI? I mean, is it just to keep the lawyers happy and avoid a PR disaster?
It goes much deeper than compliance, actually. Parashar emphasizes that responsible AI builds the single most valuable asset a business possesses, which is trust. Yeah, if your AI systems are transparent and accountable, it strengthens customer trust, it reassures your investors, and crucially, it gives your employees the confidence to actually use the tools.
Because trust takes years to build, and an algorithmic hallucination can destroy it in seconds.
Exactly.
So we have this foundation, clear vision, outcomes over tech, fearless culture, strategic literacy, and trust. It all sounds great on paper.
It does.
But even when leaders understand this, they still manage to build their own barriers. Parashar moves from these theoretical principles to practical execution, and he outlines some very specific trapdoors that leaders just keep falling through.
Yeah, and the most damaging trapdoor is how organizations measure their progress.
Mm.
When you treat AI like an IT project, you measure success the way an IT department measures a software rollout. You measure activity instead of impact.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, because measuring activity instead of impact is just a classic corporate delusion.
Oh, 100%.
It makes me think of a company trying to start a corporate wellness program, right? By buying gym memberships for the entire staff. The CEO stands up at the all-hands meeting and says, "Great news. We have achieved 100% gym membership adoption. Every single employee now has a key fob to the gym."
That is a perfect parallel.
Right. Because buying the key fob is measuring activity. It tells you absolutely nothing about whether your employees are actually getting healthier. Are they going to the gym? Is absenteeism down? Is overall energy up?
No, you just know they have a piece of plastic.
Exactly. So buying 5,000 enterprise AI licenses and celebrating the login rate is identical to celebrating the gym key fobs. It just proves you spent money.
It measures spending, not transformation.
So to answer your earlier point, what is the blood pressure metric for AI? How do you actually measure health? Parashar's framework, his 5-step playbook, demands that you identify high-impact business opportunities where AI creates measurable value, and then you track the outcomes continuously. Let's walk through a scenario of that playbook. What does it look like to identify a high-impact opportunity versus falling through that trap door and failing at it?
Okay, let's say a company wants to use AI in their sales department. A failure, meaning measuring activity, would be deploying an AI tool that automatically rewrites every single sales email, and then celebrating that 10,000 emails were generated this month.
Wow, 10,000 emails.
Right, the activity is very high. But if those generic robotic emails are annoying clients and the close rate actually drops, the AI is actively harming the business.
So they basically just automated a bad process just because they could.
Exactly. Now, let's look at the successful version of the playbook. Step 1, establish the vision. Step 2, identify high-impact opportunities. So the strategically literate CEO looks at the sales department and identifies the actual bottleneck. They realize sales reps are spending like 40% of their week manually digging through old contracts to find upsell opportunities.
That's a huge waste of time.
Right. So step 3 is building alignment around solving that specific problem. The CEO deploys an AI tool specifically to analyze those contracts and flag the top 10 accounts likely to upgrade.
And the metric isn't how many emails were sent. The metric is, did the sales cycle shorten? Did revenue per rep increase?
Yeah. That is the difference between experimenting with AI and executing AI. And step 4 of his playbook is implementing governance early. If you are pointing an AI at your confidential client contracts, you cannot wait until next year to figure out your data privacy guardrails.
No, obviously not.
Governance isn't an afterthought. It's the foundation that allows you to confidently point the AI at your most sensitive, high-impact problems.
And then step 5 is continuously measuring outcomes, which means this whole process is a continuous loop. You set the vision, identify the real bottleneck, build alignment, implement governance, measure the actual revenue impact, and then you refine the strategy.
Exactly.
It is an ongoing leadership discipline, not a one-and-done software installation.
And you have to maintain that discipline because of where the market is heading. I mean, think about what happens 5 or 10 years from now. The foundational technology is going to completely commoditize.
Oh, for sure. Every company, large and small, will eventually have access to the exact same foundational models. The compute power, the baseline algorithms, it will all be like electricity, just universally available.
Right. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, this is the exact problem Rethynk AI is solving for executives. If everyone has the exact same tools, who actually wins the next decade?
That's the million-dollar question.
Parashar's thesis is that the organizations that dominate will not be the ones with the largest AI budgets. The winners will be the ones who successfully evolve from AI experimentation to AI execution and finally to AI-powered business leadership. They will have AI-ready cultures and disciplined execution.
So smarter leadership over more technology. Because if two companies have the exact same F1 car, the company that wins is the one whose CEO knows how to actually direct the driver. Technology evolves rapidly, but leadership determines whether the organization evolves with it.
That's the core of it. But, as we look toward that future, this actually raises an incredibly provocative question.
Oh, Oh.
Yeah. If you look at the source material, there's a list of other articles J.D. Parashar has published recently, and most of them align with the strategic governance we've just unpacked.
Yeah.
But there's one title from May 2026 that points to an entirely different frontier.
Wait, really? What is the title?
It's called, and get this, Business Branding Beyond Logos, Intelligence as Identity.
Intelligence as identity.
Mm.
Okay, take that a step further. We've spent this entire deep dive talking about AI transforming internal operations, right? Supply chain, sales contracts, decision-making. How does intelligence become a brand? I mean, we're so conditioned to think of branding as a purely visual or emotional asset. You know, a color palette, a recognizable logo, a catchy tagline.
Right, but imagine an AI-first world. Your customer's primary interaction with your company might not be a visual advertisement anymore, and it might not be a human customer service rep. It is increasingly likely to be a deeply intelligent, highly responsive AI agent.
Oh, wow. So the customer is talking directly to the algorithm.
Yes, and therefore, the intelligence of that system becomes the face of your company. Its empathy, its problem-solving ability, its tone of voice, its ethical boundaries, that is your brand.
That is wild to think about.
It's a fascinating concept for you to chew on as you go about your week. We're moving toward a reality where a company's intelligence, rather than its visual logo, becomes its defining characteristic in the market.
So what does this all mean? It completely changes the stakes of everything we've just discussed today. It means the AI isn't just the engine under the hood. It's the hood, the paint job, the suspension, and the steering wheel all at once. If your AI is frustrating and obtuse, your brand is frustrating and obtuse. But if your AI is brilliant, intuitive, and helpful, your brand is brilliant and helpful.
And you cannot delegate your brand identity to the IT department.
You absolutely cannot. It all comes back to the driver. You can have the most expensive, highly engineered machinery in the world, but if you hand the keys to people who don't understand the strategy, or worse, if you leave the driver's seat entirely empty, you are just going to be an incredibly expensive roadblock. You have to take the wheel. Your strategic vision, your why, is vastly more important than the specific algorithm you happen to be using today.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the tools you use, keep pushing for the why behind the technology, and most importantly, never stop learning. We will catch you on the next one.